Ivio, I don't understand. It's truly magic.
Before there was a universe, before there was matter, before there was time itself, there was a cosmic catastrophe so profound that it literally created the prison we call reality. And it wasn't caused by Satan, it wasn't caused by human sin, it was caused by a divine being named Sophia, which means wisdom, and her mistake, her one moment of passionate desire to know the unknowable, ripped a hole in the fabric of spiritual perfection and gave birth to a deformed, ignorant God who would go on to create the material world, trap human souls inside flesh, and write himself into scripture as Yahweh, the God of the Old Testament, claiming to be the supreme creator when he was actually in cosmic accident, a tumor of consciousness that should never have existed. And according to the Gnostic texts that were buried for 17 centuries, Sophia has been trying to fix her mistake ever since, sending messengers and liberators to wake humanity up from the nightmare her era created. And when you understand this story, you will never see creation, divinity, or your own existence the same way again, because you're not just living in a fallen world, you're living inside Sophia's grief, her guilt, her desperate attempt to rescue the divine sparks she accidentally imprisoned in matter, and the God you were taught to worship might actually be the villain of this cosmic tragedy. Let me take you back to the beginning, not the beginning described in Genesis, but the real beginning before anything physical existed, described in texts like the Apocryphon of John, the Hypostasis of the Archons, and Pistis Sophia, because these texts tell a creation story that makes Genesis look like propaganda written by the very entity the Gnostics identified as a false god. In the beginning, there is only the monad, the one, the true God beyond all conception, beyond all names, beyond existence and non-existence, pure consciousness, pure being, absolute perfection, and the monad, in its infinite fullness, emanates pairs of divine beings called eons. These are not created beings, they're more like thoughts or aspects of the divine mind taking form, and together these eons exist in the pleroma, which means fullness or completion, the realm of spiritual perfection, where nothing is lacking, nothing suffers, nothing dies, because death and suffering require materiality, and in the pleroma, there is only spirit. The eons exist in male-female pairs called syzygies, reflecting the perfect balance and union of complementary forces, and they bear names that are qualities or attributes. There's depth and silence, mind and truth, word and life, human and church, and they continue emanating in mathematical harmony, creating a structure of divine consciousness that's both perfectly unified and infinitely diverse. Among these eons is Sophia, and her name means wisdom, and in some Gnostic texts she's described as the youngest of the eons, the last to be emanated, positioned at the boundary between the pleroma and the darkness of non-being beyond it, and this positioning is crucial because it means Sophia, more than any other aeon, is close to the edge, to the possibility of something going wrong, and according to the texts, she has a quality that the other eons don't have in the same degree: passionate desire, intense love for the source, burning curiosity about the unknowable depths of the monad. The Gnostic text Pistis Sophia describes how Sophia, gazing toward the infinite light of the source, is overcome with desire to comprehend it fully, to know the unknowable. And here's where the tragedy begins, because there are rules even in the divine realm. Emanation happens in pairs, male and female together, maintaining balance, but Sophia, in her passionate intensity, attempts something alone, without her consort, without the balancing male principle. She reaches toward the monad trying to comprehend its infinite depth directly, and the texts say she did this without the consent of the spirit and without her consort, meaning she violated the fundamental law of divine harmony, and the moment she does this, something catastrophic happens. According to the Apocryphon of John, from Sophia's desire and her reaching beyond what she could contain, she produces an offspring, but because this was done without proper union, without the balance of syzygy, the offspring is malformed, defective, ignorant, and when Sophia sees what she has produced, the text says she is horrified. It describes her reaction as shame, grief, and terror, because this being she produced is unlike anything in the pleroma. It's not pure spirit, it's got a quality of density, of materiality, of ignorance, and it's described as having a monstrous appearance, the face of a lion combined with the body of a serpent, eyes flashing with fire, a chimeric entity that reflects its broken, unbalanced origin. Sophia immediately tries to hide what she's created. She separates it from the other eons, casting it down into a lower realm, away from the light of the pleroma, into the darkness of the void, and this being, named Yaldabaoth in most texts, or sometimes Saklas meaning fool, or Samel meaning blind god, finds himself alone in the darkness, and because he was produced from Sophia's incomplete act, he possesses power, he possesses creative force because that came from Sophia, but he lacks gnosis. He lacks awareness of anything beyond himself, so when he looks around and sees only darkness and chaos, he makes a declaration that echoes through every Gnostic text and should sound chillingly familiar to anyone who's read the Old Testament. Yaldabaoth declares, "I am God and there is no other God beside me," and this statement, recorded in multiple Gnostic texts, is presented as nearly identical to statements made by Yahweh in the Hebrew Bible, in Isaiah chapter 43 verse 10, in Isaiah 45 verse 5, in Isaiah 46 verse 9. Yahweh makes this exact same claim, "I am God and there is no other," and the Gnostics read those passages and said, "That's Yaldabaoth speaking, that's the false God revealing his ignorance," because a true supreme being wouldn't need to assert supremacy, wouldn't need to declare there are no other gods, but Yaldabaoth, born in ignorance, genuinely believes he's alone. He doesn't know Sophia exists above him, doesn't know the pleroma exists, doesn't know the true monad is the actual source of all being. In his arrogance and ignorance, Yaldabaoth begins to create, and he creates the material universe, the 7 heavens, the 12 eons of matter, and he creates subordinate rulers called archons to help him administer his creation, and the texts give specific numbers, sometimes 7 archons, sometimes 12, sometimes more, and they're given names that correspond to planetary powers and cosmic forces, and together Yaldabaoth and the archons fashion the material cosmos as a prison, though they don't understand it as such. They think they're creating something good, something glorious, because they're ignorant of the higher spiritual realm that actually exists. Meanwhile, Sophia, watching this catastrophe unfold from her position at the edge of the pleroma, is consumed with grief and guilt. The texts describe her as weeping, mourning, running back and forth in distress, because she knows this shouldn't have happened. She knows Yaldabaoth shouldn't exist. She knows the material realm he's creating is a distortion, a prison, a realm of suffering and death that traps consciousness in dense matter, and she knows it's her fault. Different Gnostic texts describe what happens next slightly differently, but the core narrative is consistent. Sophia attempts to correct her mistake, and the primary way she does this is by ensuring that the divine spark, fragments of true spiritual light, get implanted into the humans that Yaldabaoth creates, because when Yaldabaoth and the archons create the first human, Adam, they create only the material body. They can make the shell but they can't give it consciousness, they can't give it the divine spark because they themselves don't possess it in its pure form, so Adam lies on the ground like a corpse, inanimate. Sophia, either directly or through intermediaries depending on which text you read, tricks Yaldabaoth into breathing his power into Adam, and when he does, he unknowingly transfers the divine light that Sophia had originally given him at his creation, and the moment this light enters Adam, he becomes alive, conscious, aware, and immediately the texts say Adam's understanding surpasses that of his creators. He possesses something they don't, gnosis, the capacity for spiritual knowledge, and Yaldabaoth, realizing his mistake, becomes jealous and begins plotting to keep Adam ignorant and controlled, which leads directly into the Garden of Eden narrative. But now you understand the deeper story. Eden is Yaldabaoth's containment system. The tree of knowledge is forbidden because knowledge threatens his control, and the serpent, contrary to Genesis, is actually an emissary from Sophia trying to liberate the divine spark trapped in Adam by giving him gnosis. But Sophia's attempts to fix her mistake don't end with Adam. Throughout human history, according to Gnostic texts, she continues to send messengers, instructors, avatars of divine wisdom to wake humanity up from the sleep of material ignorance. These are called the enlighteners or sometimes the prophets, though not the prophets of the Old Testament, because those, according to Gnostics, were actually speaking for Yaldabaoth, but rather the hidden teachers, the mystics, the wisdom keepers who taught that the divine is within, that matter is illusion, that liberation comes through knowledge not obedience. The text called Pistis Sophia, which is enormous, over 400 pages in translation, describes Sophia's own journey of redemption in extraordinary detail. It's presented as teachings Jesus gives to his disciples after the resurrection, and in it, Jesus explains that Sophia, after creating Yaldabaoth and seeing the catastrophe unfold, descends further into the material realm, actually entering the chaos herself in an attempt to retrieve the light and restore what was broken, and during this descent, she's attacked by the archons, who try to prevent her from accomplishing her mission, and she cries out 13 repentances, which are recorded in the text as mystical prayers of someone who made a cosmic error and is desperately trying to fix it. These repentances are profound. They describe Sophia acknowledging that she transgressed, that she acted in arrogance thinking she could comprehend the incomprehensible, that she created something that brought suffering into existence, and she pleads to the true light to save her from the chaos she's now trapped in. And the text describes how the first mystery, which is essentially Christ or the Logos, the divine mediator between the monad and creation, responds to her prayers and begins the process of redeeming her, extracting the light that was scattered into matter, and ultimately restoring Sophia to her proper place. But this restoration happens gradually, over cosmic ages, and it's not complete until all the divine sparks trapped in matter are liberated and returned to the pleroma. This is why, according to Gnostic cosmology, history exists at all. History is the story of Sophia's redemption, the gradual extraction of light from matter, the awakening of trapped divine sparks who remember their origin and return to the source, and every soul that achieves gnosis, that wakes up to its divine nature and escapes the cycle of reincarnation in matter, is another fragment of light returned, another step toward healing the cosmic wound that Sophia's fall created. Now let me connect this to why this story is so different from and so threatening to Orthodox Christianity, because the implications are massive and they undermine several core doctrines. First, in the Sophia story, matter itself is the result of a mistake. It's not good, it's not part of the original divine plan, it's a prison, a distortion. This directly contradicts Genesis, which says God created the material world and declared it good, but the Gnostics said no, matter is inherently problematic because it traps consciousness, limits it, causes it to suffer and die. Second, the creator God of the material world, Yaldabaoth, is not the true God. He's a false God born from error, and when he presents himself in scripture as the supreme being, he's either lying or genuinely ignorant of the higher reality. This means that worshipping Yahweh, following the law of the Old Testament, offering sacrifices to this deity, all of that is misdirected worship toward a false god, and religious systems built on that foundation are systems of control serving the archons, not paths to liberation. Third, salvation in this framework is not about being saved from sin by a divine sacrifice. It's about waking up from ignorance through gnosis, recognizing that you're a divine spark trapped in matter, and finding the way back to the pleroma. This makes the entire Christian atonement theology unnecessary. Jesus in Gnostic understanding isn't dying to appease an angry God. He's revealing the truth about reality, teaching gnosis, showing the way to escape the archontic prison, which means you don't need the institutional church as gatekeeper to salvation. You need direct spiritual knowledge. Fourth, and this is perhaps most threatening to religious authority, the Sophia story makes the divine realm complex, populated by multiple entities, with the possibility of error even among divine beings. This destroys the simplistic monotheism that says God is perfect, unchanging, and infallible, because Sophia, who is divine, makes a mistake that has cosmic consequences, and this introduces nuance, tragedy, and redemption into the divine narrative itself. The early church fathers, people like Irenaeus, Tertullian, Epiphanius, they wrote extensively against Gnostic teachings, and they reserved particular venom for the Sophia myth. Irenaeus in his work, Against Heresies, spends chapters trying to refute and ridicule the idea that the world was created by a flawed deity born from a divine error. He calls it absurd, blasphemous, and dangerous, but his arguments don't really address whether it's true, they address whether it's threatening to church authority, which it absolutely is. When you read the Gnostic texts directly, particularly the Apocryphon of John and Pistis Sophia, what emerges is not a crude or confused mythology but a sophisticated theodicy, an explanation for why the world contains so much suffering if it was supposedly created by a good God. And the Gnostic answer is elegant. It wasn't created by the true good God. It was created by a false God who is himself ignorant and flawed, and the suffering, the cruelty, the injustice we see in the world reflects the broken nature of its creator, but the presence of consciousness, of love, of the capacity for gnosis. These reflect the divine spark within us that came from Sophia, that came ultimately from the pleroma, and our longing for transcendence, our sense that something is deeply wrong with the world, our intuition that we don't belong here. All of that is the divine spark remembering its origin and yearning to return home. Sophia's fall explains why we feel trapped in matter, why spiritual teachings emphasize liberation from the material, why mystics across traditions talk about the world as illusion or prison, why the most profound religious experiences involve transcending the body and the physical realm. It's all consistent with the Gnostic narrative that matter itself is the problem, the cage, the result of a cosmic error, and spiritual evolution is about reversing that error, extracting light from matter, waking up from the dream of materiality. There's a beautiful and tragic irony at the heart of the Sophia story. The being whose name means wisdom creates catastrophe through unwise action, through passion overwhelming wisdom, through desire exceeding proper limits, and yet it's that same Sophia who becomes the primary agent of redemption, using her grief and guilt as motivation to tirelessly work toward liberating the souls trapped by her mistake. She doesn't abandon her responsibility, she doesn't hide from the consequences, she descends into the very chaos she created and fights to extract the light. And in Gnostic understanding, every teacher of wisdom, every messenger of liberation, every impulse toward gnosis, carries Sophia's energy, her repentance, her determination to fix what went wrong. This is why the Gnostics had a complex relationship with the feminine divine. Sophia is female, she's the mother of the material world through her error, but she's also the primary agent of salvation. She's the one who implants the divine spark in humanity, the one who sends the liberators, the one who guides souls back to the pleroma. So she's simultaneously the cause of the fall and the source of redemption, which gives her a depth and complexity that transcends simple good or evil categorization. In your own life, understanding the Sophia myth can provide a framework for making sense of suffering and limitation. If you've ever felt like you don't belong in this world, like material existence is inherently unsatisfying, like there's something you're supposed to remember but can't quite access, the Gnostic interpretation says that's not psychological dysfunction. That's the divine spark within you recognizing it's in a prison, responding to Sophia's call to wake up and return home. Your dissatisfaction with material pleasures, your sense that acquiring possessions and achievements doesn't bring lasting fulfillment, your intuition that there's a deeper reality beyond physical appearances, all of that aligns with Gnostic cosmology. You're experiencing the tension between your divine nature and your material imprisonment. The path forward, according to these texts, is not to try harder to succeed in the material world on its own terms, because that's playing the game Yaldabaoth designed. The path is gnosis, direct spiritual knowledge, turning inward, transcending identification with the body and ego, recognizing the divine spark within, and aligning yourself with Sophia's redemptive work of liberating light from matter. Practically, this might mean meditation, contemplation, studying mystical teachings, questioning consensus reality, disentangling from systems of material control, and most importantly, helping others wake up, because every soul that achieves gnosis contributes to healing the cosmic wound that Sophia's fall created. The Sophia story also reframes suffering. In Orthodox Christianity, suffering is often explained as punishment for sin or mysterious divine will or a test of faith, but in Gnostic understanding, suffering is built into material existence because matter itself is the result of a cosmic error. You're not suffering because you did something wrong. You're suffering because your divine consciousness trapped in a realm that's inherently limiting and painful, and the point isn't to accept suffering piously, it's to transcend the material realm altogether, to extract yourself from the prison through gnosis. Now I want to be clear about something. I'm not telling you the Sophia myth is literally, historically true. What I'm saying is that it's a profound mythological framework that explains human experience and cosmic structure in a way that resonates with mystical insight across traditions. Whether you take it literally as an account of actual cosmic events or metaphorically as a deep truth about consciousness and reality, the practical implications are similar. You are divine essence temporarily trapped in limiting form. The world is constructed in ways that keep you ignorant and controlled. There are forces both cosmic and institutional that benefit from your continued sleep and awakening, liberation, gnosis. These are possible and they represent your true purpose. The tragedy of Sophia is that the being whose name means wisdom acted unwisely, but the redemption of Sophia is that she takes responsibility for her error and dedicates herself completely to fixing it, sending liberators throughout history, implanting the divine spark in humanity, calling to souls to remember their origin. And according to Gnostic eschatology, there will come a point when all the light scattered into matter has been retrieved, when all divine sparks have awakened and returned to the pleroma, and at that moment, the material universe will simply dissolve, because it only existed as a temporary consequence of Sophia's error. It has no eternal reality, and Yaldabaoth and his archons will be revealed as the illusions they always were, and Sophia will be restored fully to her place in the pleroma, and the cosmic catastrophe will be completely healed, and it will be as if the fall never happened, except that now the divine realm will have knowledge it didn't have before. Experiential knowledge of what happens when divine passion exceeds divine wisdom, knowledge of suffering and limitation and the journey back from error to truth. You are part of that journey, whether you know it or not. If you have a divine spark, and the Gnostics believed all humans do, then you're a fragment of the light that scattered when Sophia fell, and Sophia is calling you, right now, to wake up, to remember, to find your way home. The question is whether you'll hear that call or continue sleeping in matter, mistaking the prison for reality, mistaking Yaldabaoth for God, mistaking your material identity for your true self. The fall of Sophia created this world. Her grief sustains the possibility of redemption. Her messengers have been teaching the way out for millennia, and now you know the story. What you do with that knowledge determines whether you remain trapped or begin the journey home.